beyond stardom this time, 5 more superstars who like to keep themselves busy in their downtime. This actor's mother was standing in front of a painting by Leonardo da Vinci when her unborn baby first kicked. Leonardo DiCaprio may not straddle quite as many disciplines as his painter, inventor, architect, musician, and writer namesake, but he certainly can't be considered a slouch. By the time he was 19, he'd scored an Academy Award nomination for his role as a mentally handicapped boy in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. At the age of 22, he sparked Leomania into a global epidemic with his cheekily romantic rendition of tragic hero Jack Dawson in Titanic. A decade and several more Oscar nods later, Leo has not only worked with the likes of Woody Allen and Steven Spielberg, he's become the new muse of director Martin Scorsese, supplanting Marty's former favourite Robert De Niro. After nailing the lead role in 2002's Gangs of New York, Martin cast him as Howard Hughes in The Aviator. Their most recent collaboration, The Departed, won Leo an Oscar nomination, and the pair are already rumoured to have another 2 projects in development. His impressive cinematic achievements aside, it's fair to say that over the last few years, Leonardo has been garnering as much attention for his off-screen exploits. First of all, there's his taste for dating catwalk beauties. After a brief fling with Paris Hilton in 2000, Leo paired up with Brazilian bombshell Gisele Bündchen in a stormy 5-year relationship. The final blow was allegedly dealt by Gisele in a Los Angeles nightclub after Leo was seen steaming up the dance floor with Jude Law's ex-fiancée Sienna Miller. His reputation as a serial supermodel dater was sealed when he hooked up with Israeli beauty Bar Raffaeli. And in March 2007, the couple scotched any chances of keeping their visit to Jerusalem a secret when they inadvertently boarded a plane packed with journalists returning from a musical in Ireland. Their trip to the city's Western Wall and Holocaust Museum turned into a media circus. Then there have been the persistent rumours that he and best buddy Tobey Maguire are way more than friends. But while Leo would undoubtedly prefer to keep the romance side of his extracurricular activities private, he's more than happy to jump on his soapbox to promote another.
We're all here to keep the pressure on our politicians and our corporations to recognize the drastic implications of global warming. The word warming sounds almost inviting. That in a world 20 years from now, we will all be living in a tropical paradise where the extent of our problems will be pondering which SPF sunscreen to use. But don't be fooled by semantics. Thousands of climate scientists agree that global warming is not only the most threatening environmental problem, but one of the greatest challenges facing all of humanity.
As a passionate environmentalist, Leo was walking the talk way before thinking green was fashionable. Not only has he been setting a good example for his adoring public, but also for fellow petrol-guzzling celebrities such as Orlando Bloom and Penelope Cruz.
I have my own foundation to support environmental issues. I try to get involved in all walks of life. I drive a hybrid car. I'm changing my home to be more environmentally friendly. My whole family drives hybrid cars. And the main thing is that I'm going to vote for a leader that actually cares about our environment.
At the 2007 Academy Award ceremony, he and Al Gore announced that the Oscars had adopted environmentally intelligent practices in their planning and production process. He then took his commitment even further by lending his star power to the documentary 11th Hour, which examines the state of the global environment and discusses how best to reverse the effects of climate change. Despite his good work, the media were desperate to find out whether he'd flown to France in a private jet to promote the environmental film.
You say you try to live your life in a green manner. Can I ask how you got to Cannes? Was it a train or a plane?
A train across, the ocean, yeah.
Did you get a train? Did you?
I can't see you.
Sorry, I'm here.
Oh, there you are.
Did you get a train from? Did you fly to Paris and maybe?
I was in New York and I flew commercial here.
Right.
I couldn't take a train.
Obviously you have to travel the world to promote your films. Do you try and make sort of changes?
I try as often as I possibly can to fly commercial, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sir.
Proving himself well worthy of his place on Time magazine's 2007 list of most influential celebrities, Leo has stepped up to the role of producer. He recently took on the responsibility of shepherding dark comedy The Dark Gardener to the big screen, casting his good friend Luke Haas in the lead role. The film's director, Kevin Connolly, gave Leo a rave review at the film's premiere.
He's great. He's fantastic. He's a good producer. He's an expert on film. He's seen more movies than anybody that I know, and he knows what he's doing. So.
Before becoming the face of the year in a local newspaper, this paparazzi magnate hung out as a punk with pink hair and a pierced nose. And although this beauty from Basingstoke in England has made her name modelling clothes and peddling cosmetics, there's always been plenty of substance beneath those gravity-defying frocks. Even while Elizabeth Hurley was dating fumbling heartthrob Hugh Grant, she was much more than the glamorous girlfriend. During their 13-year relationship, the couple set up and ran Simeon Films. Although they split as lovers in 2000, they continued the partnership in Simeon until 2006. Since becoming the main spokesmodel for perfume house Estée Lauder in 1995, with the launch of their best-selling fragrance Pleasures, Liz has been one of the hardest-working models in the business. 13 years down the track, she's still under contract to Estée Lauder.
I quite like to give up, but sadly I can't. I still have to earn my honest crust. So I work phenomenally hard still at the moment, building businesses and doing the business I have been lucky enough to be doing for the last 15 years, which is modelling and endorsements and acting when I can fit it in, which sadly isn't so often anymore since I've had my baby. But business is a very integral part of my life.
And it's not always glamorous.
Starting my own organic farm business, which is in very, very early stages at the moment, but I have a 400-acre farm of my own in Gloucestershire.
The prospect of being knee-deep in organic farming makes her contract with Jordache jeans very handy.
Well, I have too many pairs of jeans, that's for sure, but I keep trying to cull them. So I go through my boxes regularly and say, will I ever get into those again? Well, maybe. So then they go into the skinny box. But on the whole, you know what, jeans are so much in fashion, they're so much part of a girl's life that I think a lot of girls spend a lot of their clothes budgets on, 3 or 4 pairs of jeans a year, I think.
But that doesn't mean she's given up the frocks. Loyal to the label that helped her hit the headlines with the safety pin dress back in 1990, she still loves Versace.
How do you feel when you're wearing a Versace dress?
Well, I always feel at my best. I've had probably thousands, and I hope there's thousands more to come.
I feel honored because she wore Versace the best of anyone else. She really does.
Absolutely. And what's the essence of Versace at the moment?
The essence of Versace is Liz. Look at her. She represents everything right now.
Not that she's a one-designer woman. She still has eyes for the odd Valentino gown.
It was towards the end, the dress. It was that slightly sort of yellowy green colour with the 2 bands here and the skirt. Beautiful. Really beautiful.
In fact, Liz had no trouble scrounging outfits from a host of top designers for her wedding to Indian businessman Arun Nair. According to reports, she went through 13 dress changes over the 3-day nuptials. Unfortunately, the lavish wedding didn't quite go off as planned. Reports soon emerged that Arun's father Vinod was furious about being ejected from the celebrations after the breakout of an unseemly wrestling match at the Hindu ceremony. The blushing bride tried to look on the bright side.
What it's really meant to me, I think whenever anybody nasty takes any time out of your life, you just feel so incredibly grateful for the nice people in your life. And, my family are fantastic.
This actor-writer made his film debut as the star of the 1970 porno Party at Kitty and Studs. But then Sylvester Stallone was rather hard up at the time and struggling to find parts in more reputable fare. After scoring a few more small roles over the next 5 years, he resorted to writing parts for himself. His first script, Lords of the Flatbush, brought him his first starring role, alongside Happy Days' Henry Winkler. 2 years later, he struck gold with his story about a plucky loan shark enforcer who thinks he can go the distance in the ring. Rocky was the smash hit of '76 and earned him Oscar nominations for Best Screenplay and Best Actor. Over the course of a 30-year acting career, the man with the bulging pecs and deep voice has become synonymous with his battling alter ego, who has revisited the multiplex 5 times since. Through him, the character Rocky Balboa has etched his name so deeply into the public consciousness that he's been awarded his own corner in the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History. The exhibit features plenty of memorabilia from the 6 films.
I want to thank the Smithsonian for this extraordinary gift to me, and gift to my children, and gift to all the Rockies out there that have supported the idea that you can maybe not be born with all the assets in the world and maybe not be the fastest, the strongest, or the most handsome, but through perseverance, you can achieve goals. They may not be world-class goals, but they're personal goals.
Sly's own personal battle began when forceps severed one of his facial nerves, leaving part of his face paralyzed. His drooping face and slurred speech made things hard for him at school, where he got into trouble for starting fights. His facial challenges also hampered his early days as an actor. But breaking through with Rocky in 1976 was as much about his own battling underdog spirit as that of his on-screen character. Fame and fortune has afforded him some high-profile romances with the likes of Angie Everhart, Janice Dickinson, and Naomi Campbell. One of his most noteworthy matchups was with Red Sonja Amazon Bridget Nielsen, whom he married in 1985. They divorced in 1987, and Sly waited another 10 years before making another commitment to former model Jennifer Flavin, who helped host Sly's reality TV show, The Contender.
What I wanted to do is try to really find some real-life Rockies. I've been very, very fortunate, and I wanted to go out there and say, because I believe there's many talented people that do not get an opportunity. And this is our way of bringing, we're going to see thousands of young men, some even 50 years old. If you still think you can do it, try.
The successful reality TV series is just one of Sly's entrepreneurial projects that also include a fitness food and products company called In Stone.
Well, first of all, it works because I am the guinea pig. I'm the one that tests it out, and I've also tested it out on my wife here, and I wanted women to know that, for example, she's had 3 children, she runs her own company, and she doesn't work out that much, but she can stay very, very healthy and lean by taking certain supplements.
Presumably, In Stone's dietary supplements are not to be confused with the human growth hormone supplements that were discovered in Sylvester's bag at Sydney Airport late in 2006, when he arrived to promote the latest film in the Rocky franchise. After being convicted on 1 count of importing a banned substance, Sly apologized, claiming he hadn't realized the muscle-building hormone was banned in Australia. But such a minor misdemeanor was scarcely enough to trouble the folk hero, who counts big hitters like former Planet Hollywood partner Arnold Schwarzenegger among his closest friends. Arnie was one of the first to heap praise on his fellow action star at his 60th birthday bash in Las Vegas.
Well, first of all, I wanted to just say that Sly has been a huge inspiration to me.
He also got a glowing reference from Uber entrepreneur Donald Trump.
Well, he's been a friend of mine for a long time, and he's a really unique guy, and he's something very special. He's someone very special, and Melania and I are just happy to be here with him. It's a big event. It's going to be my big event in about a week and a half.
Oh, really?
The big 6-0. So I know how he feels. I'm not sure if he feels happy or not, but he looks great, and he's a great guy.
This actor-comedian's father narrated the famous children's television series, The Magic Roundabout. Emma Thompson's grounding in acting also came from her mother, Phillida Law, who is featured in films such as Anna Karenina and Saving Grace. After growing up in London, Emma went on to study English literature at Cambridge University's elite Newnham College. There she dated future comedy actor Hugh Laurie. During the early years of her career, while she was shacked up with Shakespearean actor Kenneth Branagh, she starred in her own short-lived variety show on British television. Simply named Thompson, it showcased her singing and dancing skills as well as her talent for character comedy. After landing her first major film role opposite Jeff Goldblum in the romantic comedy Tall Guy in 1989, her upper-crust accent bought her passage in a succession of British period pieces, such as Remains of the Day and Howard's End. She undertook the task of adapting Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibility for the big screen herself, and wound up winning an Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay. 8 years later, she found herself defending the words of another writer after starring in the controversial 2003 film Imagining Argentina, written by Dangerous Liaison scribe Christopher Hampton. The film presents a fictional depiction of the violence and torture of an era in Argentinian history when 30,000 people went missing.
I've only seen it once. I think that probably the scene I was most worried about, it's like a tiny little flick of violence, and you really don't see it at all. I suppose the thing they're thinking about is the rape scene. And oddly enough, I think, well, it's actually very important to represent something in that sort of brutal, flat way. Because I think that that's what it is. I think that's how it occurs.
They keep on wanting to sort of pop out.
Proving her versatility as an actress, Emma's second film appearance that year was a quantum leap from the tragedy and drama of Imagining Argentina. Although her role opposite the adulterous Alan Rickman in the Richard Curtis comedy Love Actually did draw heavily upon her crying skills, she wasn't about to risk the dangers of turning it down.
I think people come around and beat you up if you say no to Richard Curtis in my country. You know, it's compulsory.
Besides, being part of a star-studded ensemble cast that included Hugh Grant, Colin Firth and Keira Knightley made the shooting process a breeze.
Totally takes the pressure off, and Richard organised it so that, you know, we only had to do like 2 or 3 weeks. It was like a short little thing, and you felt like you were in your own tiny little film. But you know, it was a very long script, and he in a sense, we just provided him with a lot of raw material, and then he went and made the real film in the editing suite, so...
Since giving birth to daughter Gaia in 1999, Emma has starred in 2 installments of the Harry Potter series as myopic Professor Sybil Trelawney. Becoming a mother no doubt also influenced her decision to write and star in Nanny McPhee.
I had always wanted to write something when I started writing that appealed to children and adults in equal measure. It's very rare that you see that. And so that was my guiding principle, if you like.
Arriving on screen complete with hairy warts and buck teeth, she must have given little Gaia quite a shock.
People say, you know, in a nutshell, what is she? I say she's a Zen master. She's both there and not there. She's both perceived and imperceptible. And whether she's ugly or pretty is immaterial. She's good, and it's how you're feeling at the time, how you see her.
Without the warts and teeth, she was clearly irresistible on the set of her next film, which co-starred funny man Will Ferrell and 2-time Academy Award winner Dustin Hoffman.
I've been married for 26 years. Will's been married for a number of years and has a child. His wife is pregnant again, and yet both of us fought over Emma. Both Will and I almost left our wives to run away with Emma. And this was something that she almost broke.
Full of grace, she was quick to return the compliment.
It was lovely. I had such a great time. I love them both, and Dustin's, of course, a legend, and so for me, that was something quite remarkable. It's sort of indescribable to get the chance to work with someone that you've grown up with, actually. And Will was a revelation, because, you know, he just absolutely was there, completely naked and honest and raw, you know, it was brilliant.
Before starting his career in music, this boomtown rat made a crust from slaughtering animals and canning peas. These days, Bob Geldof's vocal cords get more of a workout from haranguing politicians than singing songs. But he does get out on the road occasionally, and on a recent concert tour of South Africa, he and the Rats took a trip down memory lane with their back catalogue of hits from the 1970s and 80s, which included depressing songs like Rat Trap, Banana Republic and I Don't Like Mondays, which was inspired by a school massacre in the US. Saint Bob also treated the audience to some poignant reflections on the artist's process.
A friend of mine who's a novelist from Ireland, Philip Davison, said that when he writes stories, what he's doing is framing his experience. You really don't know what you've undergone or what's going on, and suddenly out comes things and you begin to understand and put things into perspective for yourself. And that's what happens with records, whether they're hit records or not. There's stuff I've seen or been through. And it's possibly that there's enough people interested in that ongoing story.
It was a far cry from the hard-talking, ball-breaking activist we've grown so used to over the last 2.5 decades. It was way back in 1984, after the Irish punk singer saw a news report about starving children in Ethiopia, that he first started tapping his musician mates to raise money and promote awareness of global issues. After the phenomenal success of the Band-Aid single Do They Know It's Christmas, which remained the biggest selling in UK history until 1997, he and Ultravox frontman Midge Ure took on the mammoth challenge of mounting 2 massive stadium concerts simultaneously in London and Philadelphia. The unprecedented result was 1985's Live Aid, which raised over $100 million for famine relief. During the 16-hour BBC telecast, Bob slammed his fists on the table and ordered viewers not to go to the pub, but to stay at home and watch the show.
It's never been repeated. In all my 25 years of photographing, we always have this expectation of, oh, is it going to be as good as Live Aid? And it never is. It doesn't matter how hard they try, it never quite gets there.
Hopes of getting it there again were high in 2005, when Bob and fellow rock activist Bono geared up to make poverty history on the eve of the historic G8 summit in Scotland in July. Ahead of the concert, Sir Bob threw down this challenge to British Prime Minister Tony Blair.
But I'm telling you something, it will be, and you will never see it again. You will never see this happen again. It will be the greatest concert ever. It's all the promise of rock and roll, all of it. It's Bob Dylan, the times are changing, they've changed. The answer isn't blowing in the wind. It's called the Commission for Africa plan. There's nothing that you do that can't be done. There's nothing that you do. And all of that promise will be made concrete in 9 cities, 4 continents, 1 concert, 1,000 artists, all because too many people are dying on 1 continent. And there'll be 8 men around a table on the 8th of July in Scotland who can put an end to that.
The 8 simultaneous concerts went off without a hitch, and while the G8 summit did offer up a greater commitment to Third World aid, the media were in 2 minds about the meeting's success. Many criticised Bob for giving unqualified support to Tony Blair's personal agenda and accused him of compromising the cause.
Let me take up MPH's quote, "The people roared and the G8 whispered." When did 10 million people alive become a whisper?
Despite the criticism, Bob had been rewarded for his activist efforts with an honorary knighthood. He's also received a cabinet full of awards, including the 2005 Man of Peace Award. When he's not out raising money to feed the Third World, Sir Bob spends time caring for his 3 daughters and their half-sister Tiger Lily, who was left an orphan after the deaths of his former partner Paula Yates and Tiger's father Michael Hutchence. He also tends to his business interests, which include a media, entertainment and marketing company.
They hear you now.